ways. But at the same time, clearly the personalities of those people and the specific individuals who have kind of become the titans of Montana literature and the titans of Montana crime fiction, especially, you have to give those people a lot of credit. I don't think that the state would have the sort of rich literary history that it has without those people. You have to look at people like James Lee Burke and James Crumley, people that had big impacts on not only Montana's contribution to mysteries and thrillers, but also sort of like the literature that has defined this place over the second half of the 20th century. And I guess that's sort of my way of saying I think that it's a little bit of both. I don't think that every single person that comes to Montana finds it to be their cup of tea, but I think for the people that do, it really becomes a special place to them, and then you can't help but include it in their own work, and to the point with a lot of people where the landscape and the setting almost becomes like an additional character.
In Blaze, there wasn't too much of the landscape in this one. I felt like it had a people vibe to it and a Montana people vibe.
Yeah, it's in some ways kind of a tricky book in that it is a novel of the West, but I think it also concerns itself with a lot more urban questions than rural. Like you said, it's not like a cowboy novel or a novel where people are going to be out frequently traversing mountain passes or climbing rocks or cross-country skiing. It definitely is rooted in city life or small town life at least. And that to me is, again, reflective of kind of my own experience living here and my desire to write a book that I felt like captured the New West and captured the Western United States that I grew up in, where it's not necessarily cowboys and ranchers, but at the same time, I think we all are sort of influenced by the natural surroundings. I think that there is sort of a unifying Western spirit for people that make their home here and find themselves really taken with the landscape. To me, I wanted to write a book that kind of pushed that vision of the West forward a little bit into the 21st century, into the kind of setting and story and characters that I had experienced here growing up. I hope that it's recognizable as a Western book, and I hope that it rings true to people who have roots in this part of the country, but at the same time, I did want to present a slightly different vision and a slightly updated version of things that had come before.
Do you have any new books coming out or any events you'd like our listeners to know about?
Yeah, I have a couple of prospective novels underway. Like I said before, we're a little bit between projects right now. So I'm kind of in this creative space where I have a couple of different projects that I'm working on, kind of waiting to see which one asserts itself in my mind, which one becomes the writing project that I'm obsessed with, in the kind of way that you have to be obsessed with a story to write a full-length novel about it. I'm in the middle of that process. Both of the potential things that I'm working on at the moment are contemporary mysteries and thrillers set in Montana. So walking in a similar setting and milieu as what the Blaze did, but I think moving into some slightly different, more expanded subject matter. So we'll see which one of those kind of takes fire. And then in addition to that, I'm working on a narrative, serialized true crime and history podcast with a couple of friends of mine here in Missoula, one of whom is my brother, Zach, who is a nonfiction writer and a longtime magazine editor, and then a friend of ours who is a history PhD, and another friend of ours who is a journalist here in Montana. And so we're going to be doing a podcast called Death in the West, which seeks to take on this historically significant and intriguing tales of the West and expand on those with a little bit of historical context. And we're working on our first season right now, which is based on the murder of a union organizer here in Butte, Montana in 1917. We hope to have that out to the public sometime this year, so people should keep their eyes open for that as well.
Well, definitely keep us posted on that, because we will give it a shout out on the show.
Oh, amazing. That would be wonderful.
Do you have a website that people can find you?
I do, yeah. People can just go to my website, which is chaddundas.com, just my whole name, or they can follow me on Facebook. I believe my Facebook page is called Chad Dundas Author. I'm also on Twitter, which is just @ChadDundas.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for talking to us today. Also, thank you for writing such an amazing book. We absolutely loved it.
Oh, well, thanks so much. It was absolutely my pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me.
Keep us posted of the podcast and also of any future books.
I definitely will. Thanks so much.
You enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you guys as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I have to say this book grabbed me from the very beginning with the description of Matthew Rose in the back of a Jeep in Iraq or Afghanistan. I'm not even sure where he was, but he woke up, didn't even know where he was, didn't know who he was, and he's in the middle of a combat zone. That was a really great opener, I have to say.
Yes, it was. It was very well done.
When I first started reading it, I wasn't sure which direction this book was going to go. This book ended up being completely opposite of that, and it was just such a compelling story. You just really felt for him and everybody involved. I just thought that Chad did such an excellent job.
And his character development of all the different characters, his father, the coach, Georgie, all the characters were all very well done. I would recommend this book. When you first start reading it, you think, oh, it's going to be about a soldier at war, but it doesn't take long before it takes a different direction.
A hard left turn into Montana.
Yes.
But it was very succinct. The beginning in the combat zone set up the story as to why Matthew had lost his memory, gives you a perspective on his PTSD.
This book was multi-layered, but it all was leading you towards a conclusion. I was very surprised at the ending of this book.
I was too. It was very well done. He kept the suspense up through the whole book. I look forward to reading more of Chad's books as he grows as an author.
Well, his first book was completely different than The Blaze. I didn't read it. I hope he continues writing thrillers. And it would be interesting if he does develop this into a series.
Yes, I would read more of this. Matthew's story is very compelling, and there are a lot of questions that this book didn't answer that could very well be in.
Well, there was definitely storylines that could spin off of the main story, and you started to really care about some of the things that were going on and some of the people that were involved with him. I think he has things to work with.
Yes, and I look forward to reading those. Now we come to up-and-coming books.
This is not an up-and-coming book because it's already out. Liz Freeland put out An Orphan of Hell's Kitchen, the third in her Louise Falk mystery series. That came out on February 25th. It's put out by Kensington. In 1914, Hell's Kitchen is an apt name for New York City's grittiest neighborhood. As one of the city's first policewomen, Louise Falk is about to discover when the death of a young prostitute leads her on a grim journey through the district's darkest corners.
Ooh, sounds good. I have Lavender Blue Murder, which is number 21 in Laura Child's Tea Shop Mystery Series. It came out March 3rd by Wheeler Publishing. Tea maven Theodosia Browning brews up trouble in the latest tea shop mystery. Tea maven Theodosia Browning and her tea sommelier, Drayton Connolly, are attending a bird hunt in Creekmore Plantation when their host, pharmaceutical company CEO Reginald Doyle, is found fatally shot in his neighbor's lavender field.
Last up, we have the 30th in the Lucas Davenport series by John Sanford, Masked Prey, and that's put out by Penguin. Lucas Davenport investigates a vitriolic blog that seems to be targeting the children of U.S. politicians.
And then we have another new book from a friend of the show. R.J. Lee has come out with his book, Playing the Devil. It's the second in his Bridge to Death mystery series. It is put out by Kensington Press.
Next up, trivia.
Last week's question was, who wrote Get Shorty and Glitz? Your choices were A. Rita Mae Brown, B. Elmore Leonard, C. Peter Sellers, or D. V.I. Lawrence. The answer was B. Elmore Leonard.
This week's question is, which gentleman detective was created by Dorothy L. Sayers? A. Albert Campion, B. Lord Peter Wimsey, C. Gervais Fenn, or D. Paul Hatcher. Good luck. We all know that you listening at home are dealing with this new chapter in our lives, the coronavirus, and we just wanted to remind you that if you can't get out, there are lots of options to still continue to read great books, and those include your online sources at your library and also Kindle and Audible, so you can still support these authors.
You can e-read or you can listen to audiobooks, and you can definitely listen to podcasts.
Because we're germ-free.
Yes, we are. So far.
Speaking of podcasts, check out the latest episode of Mystery Rat Maze. It features the first chapter of The Body in Griffith Park by Jennifer Kinchelow, and it's read by a local actor, Casey Ballard. And if you listen closely, you may recognize the person introducing the episode. I'll give you a hint. It's me. You can find them on mysteryratmaze.podbean.com.
Be sure and visit our website where you can
listen to all of our episodes, because you'll need something to keep you occupied during this isolation. And you can sign up for our newsletter. You can send us an email. You can check out our Patreon.
Definitely. And we have added a tip jar to our website that if you want to do a one-time donation, you can click on the button and give us a little something with PayPal.
We thank you for your continued listening and any generous donation.
So that wraps up another episode. Thank you for listening. We hope you join us next time. Wash your hands and stay safe out there. And remember,
life would be boring without a little mystery. Bye.